and they said, "We are arresting you under Section 4A of the Public Order Act." They threw me in a cell.
Are we not allowed to criticise Germans anymore now? Germans? They'll be telling us next we can't criticise the French.
Today's News Talk, The Pulse.
Welcome back to Nick Talks on The Pulse. I told you before I had a very special guest coming along for this part of the show, and he's here. It's Foxy from Silver Fox Hot Takes on YouTube. How you doing, Foxy?
Hi, very glad to be here, Nick. Doing quite well. Nice sunny day where I am. Don't know what it's like for you, but been a bit cold and miserable, but it seems to be warming up again. So hopefully spring is in the air.
Well, today might be our summer. We only get one day a year in the UK. Today could be the day. I told my audience before that you've got a very, I'd say, extraordinary story, but it's turning into quite a common story these days in the UK. And it's our lack of freedom of expression, lack of freedom of speech, but also the authoritarian regime we seem to be living under at the moment. And this isn't just because we've had Labour in for 9 months. This has been a slow process over several decades, Tories as well. So just so people know, you are a YouTuber. You put out videos almost every day. What sort of videos do you put out?
It's predominantly UK politics. Sometimes there's a bit of other things that fall in if you find something interesting or it's a big story or something. But predominantly it's UK politics. I like to laugh at their stupidity and rail against their ineptitude and corruption, because I think we're being ruled by absolute donkeys and have been for quite some time.
Yep. Who can disagree with that? Who can disagree with that? Now, you posted, like I said, I watch your videos, have been now for quite a while. They're fairly middle of the road. They are critical of the powers that be, regardless of who the powers are. You were very critical of the Tories and still are. This isn't party political for you. You see, no. you see all our leaders as failing, which they are. You see all our institutions as corrupt, which they are, and incompetent, which they are. So you are an equality YouTuber. You criticise them all.
Yeah.
So about a month ago, 2 months ago, I can't remember the exact date now. It was a Friday evening. What happened on that peaceful Friday evening when you were chilling out from a busy week?
Well, I was sitting at home and it was about 9 o'clock or so. And there's a knock at the front door. And, of course, my first thought is Amazon. They're delivering something. Because who the hell knocks at the door at 9 o'clock on a Friday night? Anyway, I opened the door, and there's 2 police cars and a whole bunch of policemen. And they asked me my name. I confirmed it. And they said, "We are arresting you under Section 4A of the Public Order Act with incitement to racial hatred." And I was knocked backwards. So I brought them in. They went around. They started chatting to me. They said, "We are taking you down the station. We're going to arrest you for this." I sorted out, because I'm on medication. I sorted out my medication. And they didn't handcuff me. What threat do I pose? Mind you, that said, they were all children. You know, there was one guy who was 30. The rest of them were all children. So anyway, I get into the car. It's about 9:30. I get into the car and they whiz me down to the Kettering station where they do all this stuff. They threw me in a cell. You have to do the booking in thing. So it was about 10:30. I get thrown into a cell and I'm left there, given like a crappy blanket and the thinnest pillow you can imagine. And I'm left there till about 1:30 in the morning. Now, I think the consensus is if you question people in the wee small hours, their defences aren't up. They'll make mistakes, and you can get them to say the things that you need them to say. But I'm not stupid. So I got a good sort of 10, 15 minutes with the duty solicitor, a lovely woman. I won't say her name, but a lovely woman. She took me through it. She said that she'd listened to what they were going to charge me with, what they were going to play to me and charge me over. And she said, "You've got 2 options. You can either shut the hell up and say nothing. But since it's you on the tape saying these things," she said, "my best course of action would be to go along and say yes and answer the questions." She said, but don't admit to anything because there's nothing there to admit to. Her words, right? So they took me into the interview room and they sat me down, made sure I had a cup of tea and whatever. They do that friendly, bonhomie. We're just here to
good cop, bad cop.
Yeah, but it wasn't really. And to be fair, I've got to be honest. The cop that was interviewing me, he was getting very frustrated because I wasn't admitting anything. I'll go through it with you, but you could see he really wanted this to end quickly, and I wasn't letting it. So what it was, there was 4 videos, right? Now I'll go through these. The 3 of them are dead quick, but the 4th one is the problematic one. But I'll talk you through that. So the first video, I made a gag about the previous German Chancellor, who's just quit. Do you know the life of me? It's gone out of my head. His name, anyway. He said just before going that he no longer recognised Germany. He said the makeup of the German people has changed, and he didn't like it. And I just said, I'm sure there was another German and Chancellor 80 years ago who had exactly the same thoughts. Right?
Yeah.
Obvious who I'm talking about. I said, maybe the new German Chancellor is looking for a final solution too. Now, I didn't mention any race. It was clearly satire. But they wanted me to say and admit that was an incitement to violence. I was calling for another genocide. What a load of old rubbish that is.
Are we not allowed to criticise Germans anymore now? Germans? They'll be telling us next we can't criticise the French.
No, come on, Nick. There's 2 things I cannot abide in this world. Racism and the French. That's a joke. I've got some very good French friends. But the point is, they were trying to say that my comments were incitement to genocide when they were clearly not. It was clearly a joke, clearly satire. And anyway, where's the genocide? Who am I genociding? I didn't say anyone. It's rubbish, isn't it?
Yeah.
That was the first one. The second 2, they were together. It's 2 videos. I couldn't even tell you what the subject of the video was about, but it was some rubbish or whatever was going on with the current government. And I said, 4 words, mate. I said, Keir Starmer wrote lamppost.
No.
Oh, that is taken as an incitement for the crowd to go, in their words, not mine. Because I was just saying you could play skipping on, tie one into a lamppost and see Keir Starmer skipping. I didn't say anything. I didn't instruct anyone to do it. But apparently that's incitement to violence. That's an incitement for the crowd to go and string him up.
It's also a very common saying in the English language as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, how many times you said, I'll bloody kill you? Or, those ecology lot, put them up against the wall and shoot them. Yeah. You obviously don't mean literally putting people up against the wall and shooting them.
It's a turn of phrase.
It is. Of course it is. So anyway, those 3 are dead in the water. My brief said, rubbish, right? We get on to the 4th one, which was the problematic one, where I was having a rant about illegal immigrants.
Who doesn't have a rant about illegal immigrants these days? I'm doing it every day.
I know. I still do. But here's the thing, Nick. I wasn't ranting about the illegal immigrants. Yeah. I was ranting about the government's approach and their lack of action and their inability to sort out the problem. I was ranting. I was angry. But not at the immigrants, but at the government. A government could stop them coming like that, but they choose not to. And that's what my rant was about. Well, that's the one. Oh, look, that's racism, isn't it? Well, first of all, Nick, I'm going to say this. Illegal immigrant isn't a race. It's a status.
Yeah.
And what race are immigrants?
We have illegal white European immigrants from Albania.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Or any country. Where they come from isn't... The fact that they're here illegally is what the problem is. No. Anyway, that was deemed to be the racist point. Now, they're the 4-1. Now, I think you'd be hard pushed to call me racist on this.
Yeah. Because
I didn't mention a race.
And again, being a racist isn't illegal.
No. Being prejudicial in terms of offering jobs or charging people and things like that, yes. But actually having the view that you don't like foreigners is not an illegal view.
Yeah. And that's a view you don't hold anyway.
No, I worked in a place, and it was like the United Nations. There was all the Baltic bits, Lapps, Lithuanians, Estonians, Germans, Romanians. There was a couple of Russians.
No French.
No French, no. but they were there was a couple of Spanish, a Portuguese guy. It was there. Nobody cared. You just got on. You went in, you do these days' work, and then you left. Nobody cared. It's like, how am I possibly racist? Have I ever said anything racist? No, except the French. But so that they're all dead in the water. But this is where it gets. How can I word this? This is where the dirty, nasty side of it comes from, really. Throughout that interview, the policeman kept trying to get me to admit that I was inciting violence or inciting racial hatred, inciting it. And I kept saying, no, nowhere. I said, nowhere have I said anyone in those videos at all to go and do anything, except the government do something about the illegal immigrants. I said, that's the only incitement. I said, telling the government to do something. But he said, well, don't you think that people could watch this and misconstrue it? And my answer, brilliantly genius, I said, well, I can't help what other people think. Yeah. I'm not in control of their minds. I can infer things. No, I can't. They can infer things. I can imply. They can infer. But it's not direct. And nowhere in my videos did I imply for anyone to go and do anything. I just said, these are the facts. Or in the case of the German one, a bit of humour. Facts are not a crime. If you don't like the facts, what are you going to have? Fascism? You're trying to control someone's speech because the truth is inconvenient? And that's what we're getting. We're getting into a fascist state because the truth has got to be hidden because those in power don't like the truth. Yeah. And that's rather inconvenient when you're one of the facts they want to hide.
And that's where we get the term politically correct from. Because in the Soviet Union, people would say, well, this is it. And people, the Politburo people would go, oh, no, whoa. That might be technically correct, but it's not politically correct. You need to change your facts here because they're not politically correct. And that's what's been happening to our country now for decades. And it's ramping up every year. It's getting worse and worse and worse here.
Yeah. And that's why I admire America with the First Amendment. You can say what you like. There's nothing they can do because the truth is your truth.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah. And we need protections here. I never thought we'd need them in this country. I really didn't. But, we now have the Free Speech Union set up because someone had to set some up to protect our free speech. And they're so busy all the time with cases that people who don't live in England and the UK wouldn't believe some of the cases they're having to represent. There's a case they're representing that was in the paper yesterday of a guy who's being prosecuted. He's been charged now. He's being prosecuted for something like insulting. It's not insulting Islam. It's distressing Islam. That's what he's been charged with. Distressing Islam. It's like, I'm shocked.
What does that even mean?
I don't know. It
doesn't mean anything, does it? It's because they've run out of things. They've run out of ways of pushing people down. They're having to invent. There's the guy in prison, isn't there? Through the Southport thing, a guy doing time in prison for shouting at a dog. I mean, are we through the looking glass? It's a joke. And this is one of the things I rail about on my channel all the time, and I put them up. And when you get, what was it? There was the mother who ended up 9 hours in a police cell because she confiscated her daughter's iPad. The police came and arrested her. Yeah. I mean, what a world are we living in here?
I'm lost for words sometimes. But David, stick with us. We need to take a break now. And when we come back, let's get into why you think all this happened to you. Because there's always a motive behind these things. Yeah. So we'll discuss that when you get back. Welcome back to The Pulse. David, before the break, we were talking about how you were arrested by the police in the UK for posts, for videos you put on YouTube, discussing politics in a humorous, critical way, mainly of the government, of governments, because it's not just one government you've criticised. You criticise, let's be honest, all the governments, and they need criticising.
All of them.
Yeah. But there has to be a motive, because British police are not searching YouTube looking at your videos. They would only go on that if they've been told to go on your YouTube to look at what you're saying. What do you think's behind this? Who do you think reported you? Is it politically motivated? Is it a personal vendetta? What do you think is going on behind this?
Well, I mean, you're right. The police don't sit there all day trawling the hundreds of millions of hours of YouTube that goes up every minute. But somebody's seen it. Somebody has disliked my opinions. They've disliked my politics. They don't like the fact that I'm criticising their beloved leader or something. It's undoubtedly politically motivated. And one of the, just as an aside here, one of the things they want to charge me with is because I'm causing distress. If you're watching a video and you don't like it, you stop watching.
Turn it off.
Turn it off. Go to something else. If you're watching something you don't like it and then you carry on watching it, at what point are you distressing yourself? I don't like this, but I'm going to keep watching it. Then you get distressed even more. Not my fault. Turn it off. Anyway, that's one of the things. But it's undoubtedly political. Now, the police officer who was questioning me said, I have received a report about this video. A report. One, singular. So I got arrested. I'm still on bail, you know. This was back in February, by the way, just to get your timeline right. I got a 3-month bail. That ran out on the 1st of May. I got a phone call from my brief the day before saying, don't turn up. They've rebailed you for another 3 months. So, you know, I think the bailing is going to be the punishment. I can't see how they're going to prosecute me. But anyway, good luck if they do. I'm up for it. I'm up for the fight. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But anyway, in there, and he's talking about he's had a report. So it's a singular person. I suspect somebody in the Labour Party, I don't know what level, I'm thinking local government or an activist or something like that. See that, and have that wanker. And had him apologise for the language, by the way. I know we're on radio, and I didn't mean to say that, slipped out. But that's basically it. I don't like that person, you know, and they've made the complaint. But what will really upset them, of course, is here I am. I'm still making the videos. Hi, you know, and they'll be sitting there, you know, and what can they do?
Yeah, I can't see this being just an activist, because activists and the general public are complaining about people all the time. The police only have limited resources. For them to direct some of those resources at you means the person who complains is someone. It might be a local councillor, it might be a head of a council, it might be an MP, it might be someone who works for an MP's office. It's someone who has a little bit more clout than the general public to have this looked at. Otherwise it never would have got looked at.
No. Oh, no. I mean, they must receive thousands a day and they don't look at them all. It's someone that, with authority. Now, one of the things that we're going to do, if it does go to court, and this is what I was going to say, if it does go to court, I'm going not guilty all the way, of course. So go magistrates court first. And I'm going to demand that the complainer goes in the witness box.
Yeah.
And I think at that point, that's when the prosecution will die, because I don't think whoever is going to be, you know, who's made these complaints will want to stand in the witness box and be questioned, and be exposed, really. So that's the one we're going for.
Especially when it turns out it was your wife.
No, she doesn't complain to the police. I get that right in there, mate. I tell you. But you know, so we have that as there, and now also just as an aside, because we've talked about, you know, these things. And not just everyone, all the YouTubers have talked about it. And that's the 2-tier justice system, where they've tried to put this thing through that if you're non-white, you get an extra allowance and things like this. Well, we sat with the legals and we went through and pre-sentencing reports. I've got 10 grounds of pre-sentencing reports. And I'm like, I'm not going to prison. Plus, of course, the moment at the magistrate's court, if I'm found guilty, I immediately appeal. And then, because I'm pleaded not guilty, it goes on to the Crown Court in front of a jury. And no jury has ever convicted on this.
Yeah. I don't think you're going to be found guilty. I think the police will drop this at a certain stage. I don't think the police have done any work on this since you've been arrested. I think it's on a back burner. No one's looked at it. No one cares. So they just rebailed you for another 3 months. The process you're going through now is the punishment. It won't be being convicted, because you won't be convicted. It won't be jail.
No.
It won't be. This is the punishment. It's being on bail. It's a damage to your reputation. It's a damage to your confidence. Because even though you're still posting videos, every time before you press send now to YouTube, even if it's subconscious, you go, let me think about everything. It's a way of controlling you in your behavior by giving you this warning of 6 months on bail and telling you, we're watching you and you better start doing as you're told, boy.
Yeah. As for reputation, though, Nick, I've got to say that once I'd been arrested, my numbers went.
Well, as they say, I mean, Nelson Mandela arrested, sent to jail, Gandhi in British jails. You know, it might help your career now. You are the new Gandhi, the new Mandela.
Yeah, imprisoned by the police. It's a badge of honour, isn't it?
It is, but we're in a situation at the moment that it's dire. And if they can do this to a middle-aged man sat at home posting videos online, then if they can come for you, it means they can come for anybody over anything.
For you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And when I say you, Nick, I don't mean you, Nick. I mean the viewers. It'll come for you too.
Yeah. No,
they can come for anyone. No one is safe now. You make a post on Facebook, boom, kick at the door. Yeah. We've seen it. We've seen this. When there was a guy in Rochdale, wasn't there? 6 policemen turned up to arrest him.
Mm. Yeah, I mean,
grooming gangs everywhere, not doing a thing.
Yeah, burglary everywhere. Knife crime out of control. We've got kids stabbing each other to death every day in the UK. Yeah. Nothing's doing about it. No. Post something nasty online and you'll have the police at your door, in the middle of the night arresting you. And that is not exaggeration. We've got people in jail in the UK now, as you well know, who are in jail for tweeting for Facebook's posts. Not because they incited violence, which is against the law, but because of it's called the Miscommunication Act. Saying something nasty online that distresses someone is now a crime in the UK. You can say it to someone's face, that's not a crime. But if you type it on Facebook or Twitter and send it, that's a crime. They can be the same words, but saying it online has a harsher penalty now than saying it face to face. This can't go on, can it?
It can't. And at the end of the day, what is the crime? If you go out, I mean, put it this way, you've got rapists running wild on the streets, having been let off effectively, given suspended sentences. There was one the other day. He got a suspended sentence. And there's people who wrote a couple of naughty words that Keir Starmer didn't like, doing time in prison. Tell me it's not Stalinist.
I mean, the worst case from last year was the gentleman our age. I think he was, he was an older man, no criminal record. He was arrested at one of the demonstrations for shouting at the police at the demonstration. No violence, no threats to violence. There's videos online praying at the police as well. But then he was also shouting at the police. Nothing offensive, shouting at the police, just calling them traitors, which you're allowed to do. He got 2.5 years in jail. Couldn't cope being in jail because our Prime Minister told the country that all these people are racist, far-right Nazis. So he was scared then in jail of being attacked by the Islamists in jail because they run our jails now, and hung himself to death. That was his punishment. His punishment was capital punishment by suicide.
I firmly believe he was murdered by Stalin.
Yes.
By Starmer.
Yeah.
And I'll say it. Yeah. Murdered by Starmer. Not physically, but the whole political mindset led to that man's death. He should never have been in prison, but Starmer wanted these people away, and Starmer put that man in prison, and Starmer killed that man. Yeah.
And then on top of that, to make room for that man in jail and the people like him, Starmer released early 2,000 real criminals early.
Real. Yeah.
And just to make room for tweeters and Facebook.
Thugs and rapists released so they could put people up because they expressed an opinion.
Yeah. I mean, let me give you 2 examples of the men who were released from jail. On the day of their release, one of them sexually assaulted the woman who was driving him from the prison to the train station. He sexually assaulted, I don't think she was a prison guard. I think she worked for the prison and gives them lifts to the station. He sexually assaulted her within minutes of leaving jail.
Yeah.
And there was another guy on the evening, he got released in the morning. By the evening, he was with his gang members. They chased down some guy and stabbed him to death.
Killed him on the day of release.
Day release. They're the people they released early from jail to make room for people.
So they can lock up a 45-year-old woman.
Yes, and a 70-year-old man. For saying naughty things online. It absolutely.
And how dare you criticise this government? Go to jail. It's Stalinist. I'm surprised they haven't got gulags.
Well,
better not give them any ideas.
Yeah. Well, the only benefit there is we can't afford to build them.
No,
because the country is virtually bankrupt. We haven't got any money to build them at all. And in fact, what we would do is we would send these political prisoners into 4-star hotels, because that's where we tend to send anyone who's illegal now in this country. Yeah. We send them to 4-star hotels to be catered for.
Well, I see Donald Trump has allowed amnesty, so you can turn up from Britain as a political prisoner, stand at the passport control and say, "I'd like to claim asylum."
Yes,
and he's allowing it. So I can imagine Tommy Robinson turning up there and going, "I want asylum."
Yeah, that was the former.
Standing next to him.
Yeah, that's the former band member of Mumford & Sons, Winston Marshall. He's now doing reporting as well, and he was at the press conference and asked Trump's team, "Will you start accepting political prisoners from the UK because of their lack of free speech?" And they said, "We're going to seriously consider it." It was like, who would have thought that? Who would have thought that in a million years, that we're going to have to flee our own country now and seek political asylum just so we can stay free English men?
Yeah. We're living in a mirror world, aren't we?
We are. Foxy, David, any last words before we go to the break?
No, I think we're fine. I'm just very glad to come here today to tell everyone, to expand it, to make sure people are aware of what's going on, really. So thanks for the opportunity. No,
you're welcome. And when you finally get that all clear, let's come back on and let's see what happened between now and then. This is Nick Talks on The Pulse, and we'll see you after this break.
Today's News Talk, The Pulse.